saying, I bought you with cattle from your father. Don't you dare try to tell me who I can and can't sleep with. Hey everyone, it's Tuesday. You know what that means. Welcome back to another episode of The Gray in Between, where we explore the stories that thrive in the space between right and wrong, clear and confusing. I'm your host, Lola, and together we'll dive into the captivating tales from Meta and beyond, where life's most complicated moments take center stage. In a world that's really black and white, we're here to navigate the in-betweens, offering fresh perspectives, thoughtful advice, and plenty of heart. Sit back, get comfortable, and let's journey through the gray together. All right, guys, let's jump into the first story for today, and it's, am I the asshole for telling my now ex that she made it hard for me not to hit, parentheses, kill her after what she did? Let's see how bad this is. First, let me say I didn't lay a hand on my now ex. I have never laid a finger on any other woman in my life. Ashley, 26 female, and I, 28 male, have been together for a little over a year. To be honest, most of the relationship was good until we reached the year mark. I first started to notice messages from my friends and family going missing. Invites to hang out that we discussed never reached me. I thought I was going crazy at first because my own text conversations didn't make sense to me, until I caught her deleting a conversation I was busy having with my cousin. I flipped out because why the hell would she do that? And we were having a conversation about a surprise birthday party for 80-year-old grandmother, mother in my eyes. This was the first time I saw the other side of her, the yelling, screaming, saying why I always plan things without her. No, I haven't planned anything without her, and she has always been invited and included in the planning. What pissed me off more is the fact that she was trying to make me the bad guy after I asked her input multiple times in this party for my grandmother, and she was deleting the text. I apologized for making her feel that way and promised to include her more. Me and my family and friends stay a considerable distance from each other. I'm 16 hours away from my family, so everything has to be planned. Okay, no. First of all, I cannot believe you apologized. If I ever caught someone deleting messages from my phone, that is a very, 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 very big, huge red flag. That's really scary to have someone like that. Two, if I'm planning something with like my side of things, I don't have to include you. It's a planning process. It's like, hey, we're thinking of doing this on this date. Does this work for you? I'm going to let you know if the dates work, but everything else is like with my family, you don't get that privilege yet to butt in and say, want to plan with this. No. I've also noticed that whenever we had plans for us to hang out with my family or friends, she always had something come up at the last minute that she desperately needed my help with, but never something when we hanged out with her friends or family. I did mention this, but she convinced me that it was just a coincidence. Oh my gosh, she's gaslighting you too now. I never hear my phone ringing, but always find missed calls on my phone, and my phone is conveniently on silent. Something I do not do. She, of course, denied it. I actually thought I was going crazy for a couple of months. I actually thought I was going crazy a couple of times. The last straw was 4 days ago. My grandmother had a heart attack and died in the hospital 2 days later. I didn't receive any text or call regarding this from anyone. She had blocked everyone from my friends and family on my phone. I initially thought my phone was quiet, but we are adults and life gets busy, so I didn't think much of it. That was until I ran into one of my old friends at the grocery store and he gave me his condolences for my grandmother. I asked what was he talking about, and he told me about my grandma. I took my phone out of my pocket and saw everyone was completely blocked. When I unblocked them, the messages then came flooding in. I had hundreds of messages. I left everything and ran back home to get my car, as again, we live in a different state about 16 hours away from my family. When I got home and she greeted me with that smile like she did nothing, I exploded on her. I lost it. I asked why the f would she block everyone that meant something to me? Buddy, chill out. You want to read this too? Okay, bye, go. I yelled at her that my grandma died and I had to find out from some random old friend that just happened to see me. All she said was sorry, but she did it for us, and my friends and family was preventing us from being together. She had to do it. I have never been that angry in my life. I wanted to lay her out. I wanted to beat her to death in that moment. I have never been that close to hitting a woman in my life. I told her to get her and to get out of my house. She grabbed me by the arms and told me to relax, and again said I did it for us. I grabbed her shirt, pulled her in closer to me, and told her if she doesn't leave in the next couple of seconds that I will kill her. I wanted to hit her, and it took everything in me, all I had, not to lay a finger on her. She robbed me of the final moments I could have spent with my grandmother, the woman who raised me, the woman that meant everything to me and taught me almost everything I know. I could see the fear in her eyes as she crumbled to the floor, then I let her go. It took her 10 minutes to leave my house, but as soon as she did, I lost it myself, and I don't know if I yelled, screamed, cried, but I destroyed my own house, and all I remember was this overwhelming rage. I don't even remember half the drive to my grandparents' house. I'm currently at my grandparents' house as the funeral preparations are being made. When I first arrived, the family exploded on me to where I have been and why I didn't answer them. I explained the situation and what happened, and although I think they believed me, I can still see the disappointing looks in their eyes when they look at me. According to my cousin, one of the last things my grandmother asked for the day before she died was where I was. She robbed me of that. She robbed my grandmother of that. My now ex told our mutual friend what happened, surprisingly, and she told them the whole truth. They all said what she did was wrong and I have every right to break up with her, but I went too far by threatening to hurt her. I am an asshole for the way I handled things. Although my actions in those moments wasn't the best, I am ashamed. I can't in words describe the anger, rage, and betrayal I felt. I will give more details if anyone wants any. I know I left stuff out and didn't give a lot of details. I'm still really emotional. So, am I the asshole? Oh gosh. Can you get away from my computer? I think being in a very high, intense emotional mindset, right? Having to lose someone as close as you did and being robbed of those final moments together, you're not in a right headspace and I get emotional too. I get really angry too, right? But good for you for not hitting someone and good for you for like realizing that you could have handled it better. But you're only human. No one's perfect. Some people will have to lose their shit. One way or another, it's going to happen. Look how my mochi much. I'm sorry. This is a very emotional story and she went too far. She went way too far and the gaslighting really messed with you mentally. And I always say this, if the roles were reversed, oh my God, people would have been like, that toxic man, he's so controlling. You got to get out of there. This, and that. And then what, right? We can't just belittle it just because it's a girl doing it to a guy. I think that's like really dangerous to be with. I think that's like mental abuse she did to you. I can't imagine if one of my loved ones were in the hospital and I didn't know if they passed. Someone that I would hold near and dear for me, all because my partner at the time felt that they were getting in the way of things. Oh my God, I would lose my shit. So I get it. Honestly, I do. That's some crazy psychotic shit. Ooh, textbook gaslighting right there. Am I wrong for calling off the wedding after my fiancé joked he was trapped in this marriage? My fiancé proposed 3 months ago. It was a beautiful, intimate proposal, and I loved the idea of telling our future kids about this proposal. I was really excited to plan my wedding. I work in the events industry, and this sort of thing is my passion. My fiancé has ADHD and finds wedding planning very boring. His default response is, whatever you want. So I've had full creative freedom, but I'm a little sad that he didn't contribute to anything, even the color scheme. My fiance and our friends were talking about the wedding. I was telling them some of my plans to cut down costs, and my friend made a joke that it was a good thing my fiance locked me down because I'm a professional. My fiance joked that he didn't lock me down. I locked him up. He said he was trying to enjoy his last days of freedom before I trapped him in the marriage. I felt really upset that he didn't acknowledge my hard work in planning the wedding, and because he joked that I was trapping him into the marriage and that I pushed him into getting married. I decided we should call off the wedding for now. He wasn't interested in getting married, and I don't want to marry someone who doesn't enthusiastically want to get married. Good for you. I agree. Women need to recognize the red flags. Normalize recognizing these red flags and getting out while you can. Like, men need to knock this narrative down. No one is trapping you. You are the one proposing. If you don't want to get married, then don't. But then, like, don't expect women that want marriage to give that up for you. Men overwhelmingly benefit from marriage, so let's not act like you're really giving anything up besides not being a man whore. I talked to my fiance. It said that I'm going to call off the wedding plans and we could reevaluate if he really wants to get married or even stay in this relationship. We haven't sent out RSVPs or booked too many vendors yet, so I want to call it off before it becomes an even more expensive mistake. He was very upset that I called off the wedding and said he was just joking. He said it was normal to joke about this. So, am I the asshole? She has a small edit. I've talked with him about his lack of enthusiasm about anything. I don't even need him to have initiative, but an opinion would be nice. He said he doesn't care about the details at all. I let it go after I felt like I was nagging him to have an opinion on something. The joke made me realize that he probably doesn't want to get married. That's where his lack of enthusiasm comes from. Yeah, I 1000% agree with that sentence. There's a difference. Like, I know guys don't care, right? Guys don't care. But you still want to be there for the wedding tasting. Just be there with the decor. Like, okay, like seeing them happy. I think seeing your spouse be happy about something like that would make my guy didn't like care about the stuff. I still would want him to come and say, hey, like, and him seeing me be happy about it would be enough. But if you're just like, I don't care about this wedding. Then it's like, why are we doing this then? We are pretty early into wedding planning and I want to call it off because weddings are expensive and I'm not sinking more of my money into an uncertainty. Figuring out whether he wants to get married will take time and time is money. I can work with him on figuring that out, but I can't keep a wedding timeline with that. I just don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand. I think that men benefit more than women from marriage, yet they are the ones who always say they are trapped. You never hear women saying that. All because from you being married, from you being in a committed relationship, right? You still can't hoe around. Why do they find it as oh, I'm trapped now. God forbid I have to live with the wonderful, amazing woman who will one day be the mother of my kids so I can build a future and long-lasting life with. Oh, I'm trapped. I can't go sleep with a prostitute. Damn it. What? What is it that you feel? It's not a good shtick. Leaves a very bad taste in my mouth. Like, why even propose if this is your attitude towards marriage and your partner? Also, I want to shout out to OP because too many women, hopefully I don't become guilty of this too, shrug off this stuff and end up diminishing themselves. So glad she's smart. And it's like, you know what? Kitty cat. I'm glad she's smart to realize it now and like she's looking through the fog, because it's really hard when you're in that mindset of wedding planning and love. Like a lot of people, I think, fall in love with the idea of getting married and they're just like looking over these things like, oh, like it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And she's like, pump the brakes. Get married, do you? Okay, let's not. So good for her. Am I wrong for letting my son find out my diagnosis over social media when he wouldn't talk to me alone? I don't know. The issue started a while ago. My son married Becky. Becky and my daughter do not get along. Looking into it, personalities don't mix well. They frustrate each other a lot. About a year ago, the family was having a barbecue and Becky was asked to bring paper plates so no one had to clean plates. She brought plastic plates so my daughter would need to wash them in order to give them back to Becky by the end of the night. The barbecue was at her home. I think it was a breaking point for her because she grabbed me and went inside. She had a big rant where she was not pleasant about Becky. It was mostly about her not following instructions, and in her eyes, she was incompetent. I told her to calm down and just enjoy the night. I will do the dishes. A few days later, I got a call from my son saying he will only communicate with me if Becky is there. So group chats if she's on the phone with him or in person. That he heard that we were talking about his wife and this is what he is doing now. Same thing with my daughter. He didn't let me explain. So from then on, we've been communicating that way. It has been frustrating at times and I don't feel like I can talk to him about anything personally. I'm going to put a little bit of 2 cents here. At the end of the day, you're my son. She is not my daughter. She will never be my daughter. That's my daughter-in-law. I respect her because I respect you and I respect the way you guys treat each other. I respect your union. But I have no entitlement to her. Nothing. That's my child. And for you to say, hey, if you want to talk to me, talk to her, I think that's stupid as fuck. You have to be able to keep a relationship separate. This brings me to the main issue. I have breast cancer. I informed the kids one by one about it. I am not comfortable to explain my diagnosis with his wife in the room. We are not close and I'm very emotional about it. So I texted him that we needed to talk alone and he told me that anything I say, I can say in front of his wife. I called him but no answer, and me saying it was very important didn't do anything. I don't understand, okay? What kind of ridiculous rule did this man implement? If he's worried about his family talking shit about his wife behind her back, how does forcing her inclusion on every matter solve the issue? They weren't talking about her to you. They were doing it in general, if they were even doing it. I don't understand. My option was to tell him with an audience or not tell him and let him learn from someone else. I chose not to tell him. I had my first appointment and my daughter made a post on Instagram wishing me luck and support. He called me up pissed that he found out about this on social media and called me a jerk for not telling him. My point was I did try and he wouldn't listen to me. Oh my God, bro. Your son is crazy. He needs to grow up. Grow up here and handle the situation better. This really sucks. Oh, there's no update? No. Oh, okay, there's no update, but to the OP, I'm sorry about your diagnosis. It sucks. Wish you best of luck for your treatment. So truth is, you asked your son for a private conversation and this man, he does not get to berate you for not telling him. And this is the consequences of his own short-sighted actions. And frankly, you don't need the drama right now when you have all these other things on your mind. You did ask him and he said no. I'm really sorry you have to deal with this on top of cancer. Look after yourself. Ugh, some people, like, I get it. I love a supportive husband. Trust me, I get it. But sometimes things like this, like, guys don't think. It's like, listen, oh my God, one day, look, this will happen to you. One day you guys will have kids and your kids will be like, Daddy, I can't talk to you. Mom, I can't talk to you unless my spouse is in the text message or on the phone call. My wife left me because I was racist to her and I can't get her to come back. Can I recover from my mistake? Ooh, I don't know. Let's see how racist this is, okay? Not that any sort of racism is okay, but I gotta hear it in the context. I sincerely feel our problem started on Reddit, so I feel it's only right to come back here to see if you can help me solve the mess we made. So a few years ago, my wife came to Reddit for advice navigating a culture clash. You can read her original post here. Do I have to read her original post? Shoot, I do, huh? Okay, I can't even find the original one. I tried. In retrospect, the responses she got were awful, rude, and many racist. My wife is from Zimbabwe. I'm Swiss, and we met while at university in my country. I fell for her instantly. Truthfully, I've never seen anyone so beautiful. She was kind, so incredibly intelligent, and has this gravitational pull to her. We started off as friends, but we eventually began dating and got into a steady relationship. I wanted to marry straight away, but she had career ambitions she wanted to meet before she married. At the time of the Reddit post, I was going through some stuff. I knew the expectation of Roora, Roora, was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside her engagement ring for years. Okay, I think that's like a cultural thing. Let me check it out. Roora is a Shona word that refers to the bride price or bride wealth paid in Southern African marriage ceremonies. Okay, kind of like a dowry. Okay, so he has to pay this on top of the wedding stuff. Okay. I was going through some stuff. In truth, I knew the expectation of Roora was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside with her engagement ring for years. I had gotten into a fight with my brother before she asked me about setting a date for her Roora, where he said many nasty things about me being with a black woman and how I was losing myself and my cultural identity due to the concessions I made to be with my wife. It's why I reacted the way I did when she asked me about it, something I deeply regret to this day. After the show that was that post, we spent 3 months in couples counseling. She repeatedly told me that she didn't want to force me to do anything I didn't want to do. She said that she deserved to be with someone who enthusiastically embraced all parts of her, and if any part of me took issue with her culture, she asked that I bow out before I tied us together for life. I confessed that I knew all along about the Roora and I had prepared for it, but the conversations with my brother are what led me to say what I did. She was mad. I had allowed her to be mocked, ridiculed, and bullied by strangers online because I couldn't communicate with her, but we worked through. We had a beautiful traditional wedding in her country, then another one with my traditions in mind. Her family was kind and welcoming, making many concessions for me as they had done since I met them. We planned on starting a family soon after we married, but she'd always said that she wanted to have her babies back in her country so she can have her family around her. We had agreed that this is what we do. It's important to know that my wife doesn't really like living here. She says she hates living here. We lived in Sweden for much of our relationship, and many will know that people are on the cold side. She hated the food, the weather, struggled with the cold people. Her country's people are very warm and friendly, and for the last 2 years, she had to go on antidepressants because it was all a bit much for her. She asked me when we were going to move, and I asked for us to hang for a while so I could finish a project I'm leading at work. We'd fought about this in the past, but this time she just nodded at me, so I thought she finally got it. That was over 18 months ago, and we didn't end up moving as I got promoted and it became harder to walk away. Her grandma passed away, so I attributed the low mood to that. Our problems came when she asked me if I was having an affair with my colleague. This is when I got home late one evening and found her sitting in the dark. I'd forgotten she was making dinner for us, to be honest. I had a lot going on at work and it just slipped my mind. I told her that colleague and I were working late and I forgot. Sorry. She grew confrontational and told me I was spending a lot of time with my colleague lately, and she noticed her name on my phone more than a few times. She asked me if there was anything she ought to know. This is when I may have killed my marriage. I told her I didn't give her father a truck full of cattle for her to question me. No, you didn't. 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 This was my house, my wife, and if I wanted to have something on the side, that was nobody's business but mine. She looked like I'd slapped her, and I could see her holding back tears. I don't know why I didn't drop to my knees and beg for forgiveness. Instead, doubled down and told her to stop the theatrics. Here's the thing. I'm not having an affair of any kind with my colleague. We're really just heavily into this project we're both super excited about. I don't know why I just couldn't say that to my wife. She didn't come to bed that night, and I left early in the morning, the day after she came home when she was asleep. This continued for days where I avoided her because I couldn't face the guilt. On a Friday, I came home to a gift box that contained a positive pregnancy test and a long letter from my wife. I won't share all of it, but she said she was going to tell me on the night I bailed on dinner that I had hurt her beyond measure with what I said to her and that she was no longer going to show her love for me through self-sacrifice. Oh my God, this made it even 100 times worse than it already was, and it's pretty bad. She told me she doesn't consent to be in a polygamous relationship, and since it's what I want, I should expect to receive divorce papers from her soon. She left her rings and house keys too. I had a panic attack. I was able to call for help before the worst of it came, but I spiraled. I had momentarily f***ed up and lost my wife and unborn child because of it. I tried to call her, but her phone was going straight to voicemail. I called her brother, who was short with me, but assured me she was fine. He wouldn't tell me more. I finally tracked her down after 2 weeks. She'd gone back to her parents in Zimbabwe. I can't follow her just yet because the project I've worked on for so long is near completion and I can't walk away. My friends told me I was racist to my wife and my actions because I never would have tried that with a white woman and tried to use her culture against her. The fact that I wasn't even serious made me more cruel apparently. She still won't speak to me. I've tried all avenues and she won't hear me out. I love her beyond measure and I don't know how to get her back. Please help me. So he does have a small edit. So I'll read that first before I berate this man. Okay. A lot of you think I'm awful. It's hard to reach, but oh well. I've taken your advice on board and I'm going to follow her. I have booked a flight to Zimbabwe. I leave in 10 days. I'm going to go apologize and try to make her understand. No one seems to be thinking of the child she's carrying, my child, when they say I should leave her alone. I won't do that. It's sad that I've missed out on the joy of finding out we're finally having a baby we've so wanted, but I'm going to go and fix this so I can get my wife back and our family on track. Your wife didn't leave you because you're a racist, even though you were. Your wife left you because you were a neglectful workaholic that told her you could sleep with whoever you wanted. Mocking her culture was simply a cherry on top. Imagine. See, I'm bad. If someone said I didn't pay your father, especially in cattle, to question me, I would have been swinging. As bad as that is. And the thing is, right? People say bad stuff when they're heated. I get that, right? But there's this unwritten rule. Like you just don't do. You can't go under the belt. And it's not even like there's different things where like when I get into arguments, I'll say things that are true, but it hurts the other person. Like it's a dig at them. But this man intentionally went to like say things to hurt her, saying, I bought you with cattle from your father. Don't you dare try to tell me who I can and can't sleep with. This is my favorite. This is my favorite comment. It says, am I the asshole because and then continues to list 1,001 war crimes. I want to find the wife's post. What was it for? Let me see if I can find it. Okay, you guys, I found the wife's first post, okay? And it's, am I the asshole for asking my fiancé to pay a bride price? My fiancé, 32 male, is white, European man. I, 31 female, am a black African woman. We've been dating for 7 years. I came to his country to study and have lived and worked here since. Ever since we started dating, he took such an interest in my culture, asked me to teach him my language, culture, and we've even been to visit a few times. He asked me to marry him last year and I accepted. We were planning our wedding. I mentioned we need to account for my family back home. We could have the traditional wedding in my home country and then the white wedding in his, since we don't want to ask anyone to fly out or get visas, etc. The issue came when I mentioned a bride price needing to be paid, something he scoffed at. To call it a bride price is misleading because there is so much more to it than the money that changes hands. It's our time-honored tradition that blends two families into one, and it's always something I wanted to do when you got married. I mentioned he knew of marriage customs in my country and that they included a bride price. We both work in law and human rights type of fields, so he assumed I would be against the bride price. I told him I am against it being a forced and money-making thing, but I'm asking that he does it because I chose it and I want to honor my parents and culture. He refused, saying it was backwards and exonerate, and it would be like he bought me. I assured him it wasn't the case. My parents would charge a symbolic amount, nothing crazy, just to symbolize us getting together. I said if my parents were to sell me, he couldn't afford me. This set him off in a rage because I somehow insulted him by saying that, when what I meant is that my parents aren't looking to make money off me, but this is something my people have done for a millennia and I don't want to break from tradition. I said I don't know if I'm willing to go ahead and marry him if he isn't willing to make the trip to my country and talk to my parents about the lobola process. I hope I said that right. Lobola? It's L-O-B-O-L-A. Lobola. He says I'm forcing and manipulating him. I'm not. He knew from day one who I was and where I came from. This is what my people do, and I feel for him to label it backwards as Eurocentric because he's viewing it from his lens, despite me having explained what it is actually about. Okay. These comments are wild, though. So, yeah, I get that because white people don't do this. European people don't do this, right? Most other countries, we have, it's not, bride price just sounds so bad. You're not literally saying, hey, give me this money for a bride. It's just like a symbolic thing. Like, okay, you need to prove, it's for us, especially in like African culture, it's like to prove that you can take care of her financially, whether it be cattle or a money set amount. And usually that, like for us, like the money that you give goes back to the bride, as in like you'll give the bride money, like, okay, here's the $5,000, but the family will go and buy things for the new house that you guys are going to move into, like ironing boards and like clothes and like sofas and things like that. It goes back into your marriage. So it's just like, I get that. But these comments are ruthless. I can see it. You guys can go ahead and look at it. I'll give you guys the title again. So it's, am I the asshole for asking my fiance to pay a bride price? But man, now I see what happened. I get it. Oh my God. This sucks. Okay, you guys, time for one of my favorite parts of the episode. And it's the viewer submission. This one is, am I the asshole for saying no to being my best friend's bridesmaid? Okay, I'll read her note. She goes, first of all, I love your videos. I love how you keep it 100. So I'm excited to hear your opinion on the situation. Thank you for the countless videos of entertainment you provide us all. These warm my heart. Thank you guys so much. I love hearing it. Continue to compliment me. Thank you. Okay, let's go. Am I the asshole for saying no to being a bridesmaid to one of my best friend's wedding? Let me start with some backstory. About 5 years ago, my 26 female husband, 26 male best friend met a girl online and they started dating. Shortly after, he introduced us to her. They came over and stayed with us for some time as we live in different states, and her and I instantly clicked as friends. It wasn't long before we became super close. She often came to me for relationship advice as I was already married at the time and I loved helping out when I can. We often talked about life, journaled together, made goals together, and always were there for each other. We shared so much with each other and we constantly spoke about her and her partner getting married. We would travel to each other every now and again and would always be an amazing time. Not even a year in, and I considered her one of my best friends. About 3 years into their relationship, she fell pregnant and it came with a lot of hardships as neither of them wanted a child. Their relationship faced some major hurdles and my husband and I were there for them through it all. We threw them a gender reveal party. I did all of the planning, prepping, purchasing, and helped pay for some, on top of being a gender holder, and my husband just chipped in some money and helped with last minute decorations. In her words, it was absolutely perfect. We were gifted the title of godparents to their child, which was an honor to me as this is not a title I take lightly. Fast forward a couple of months ago, my husband's friend, we'll call him Jerry, called us and informed us that he had bought a ring and had planned a beautiful proposal. I cried tears of joy when I found out, as I knew this was something she has been wanting for a long time. When they got engaged, she FaceTimed me a couple of hours later to show me the ring, and I was so overjoyed for her. It was only a couple of weeks later that she started planning and prepping for the wedding. This included buying her wedding dress. I was shocked when she sent me pics later that night, showing me the dress and the crew she had with her. I would have thought she would have told me, as she knew I would have made the effort to go, despite being in a different state, or would have joined in a FaceTime call if I couldn't make it. I constantly heard Jerry and my husband talking about him being the best man and other things related to the wedding. I felt in the dark about most things, including if I was a bridesmaid or not, because I wanted to start dress shopping and didn't know if I had to pick out a certain color. I texted the bride and nonchalantly asked a question about her bridesmaid and what color dress they were wearing. Her response was, "They are wearing pink." This told me what I needed to know and I proceeded accordingly. It hurt my feelings that I was not someone she felt important enough in her life to stand behind her on her big day, as she would without a doubt have been behind me had I married before meeting her. I took it pretty hard and cut off most contact with her without making it completely obvious. Seeing her bachelorette party pics online and thinking about how I thought I was going to be part of it truly hurt. I still didn't say anything as I would not have wanted anything to ruin something she had been dreaming about for so long. Fast forward to 3 weeks before the wedding, she texts me and tells me that it had been very heavy on her heart because of all I had done for her, Jerry and their son, and asked me to be a bridesmaid. Turns out, Jerry had added another groomsman who was also under the impression that he was going to be in the wedding party and unlike me, spoke up about it. So the numbers were now uneven and that's why I asked. I politely declined and told her to find someone else to even out their numbers. I also let her know how it hurt me, but at least now I know where we stand. This resulted in a 30-minute call where she was crying and kept apologizing. Although I forgive her, my position remained the same and I did not agree to being in the wedding party. To me, being in the wedding party is more than just standing behind someone at the actual wedding. It's about helping them and being there every step of the way, which was already too late for me to do. The wedding came and went and everything was great. I did not once show any hostility towards her, nor treated her any different. Many people in both of their families asked me why I was not a bridesmaid, and I can't lie. It hurt to just smile and try to laugh the question away. It is something that bothers me to this day, but sometimes I think I may have been the asshole. So, was I the asshole in the situation? Thank you so much for reading and sharing my story. I look forward to seeing what people say and doing some self-reflection if need to be. Give me a second. Can I just say, as soon as you said when she asked you 3 weeks before the wedding, I knew it was like a filler placement. I don't understand how you can have someone be, what is it called? Shoot, I'm blanking out. When they watch your kid. Godparent. How you can have the person where if you pass away, they're going to take your child. That person not be part of your wedding process, let alone a bridesmaid or maid of honor. Like for me, that's my sister. In situations like, that's my ride or die. Someone who's gonna watch over my child. You are 1,000. I don't think you did anything wrong here. You are not the asshole at all. You were put in a tough situation. And I think you handled it with grace 1000%, because I feel like a lot of people would have been bitter in that situation. And it just shows to your character that you're a good person and a good friend, because a lot of people would have just, said things here and there that could have been mean. Like, oh yeah, she didn't invite me, that biatch, or things like that. But because you loved her so much and held her near and dear to your heart, you wanted to, cover for her and be like, yeah, it's okay, like nothing. And I would feel so hurt. You've supported her during like major life moments, including her pregnancy, her gender reveal, and like relationship struggles. I mean, you You're her godmother, for God's sakes, which shows how much you value the relationship. I mean, and when it came just to her wedding itself, you have every right to feel hurt, and all the love and support you've shown her. Being left out of such a significant part of her life must have been like incredibly painful. It's not about just being a bridesmaid. It was about not feeling valued in the way you thought your friendship deserved. When she did finally ask you, it clearly wasn't from good heart because of a logistical issue. I wouldn't have said yes either. It's understandable that you would turn down an invitation that felt like an afterthought. And I think you did the mature thing by expressing how you felt without causing any drama or ruining her big day. Weddings are emotional and personal, but that doesn't mean you have to put your own feelings aside when it comes to being treated as a friend, you know? It wasn't about the number of groomsmen or bridesmaid. It was about you realizing where you stood in her life. And it's valid to feel hurt by that. I think that out of everything is the most suckiest thing. It's like when you hold someone so close to you and you realize in their eyes you don't hold that same spot, I think that's what really hurts. Because from what I can tell, like you would have, at a drop of a hat, you would have been there for her. But now you know, right? Of course it sucks, it hurts, that she wouldn't do the same for you. But ultimately, you handled it with kindness and you communicated your feelings openly. You didn't cause a scene. You didn't hold a grudge, which is way more than most people would do, myself included. I would honestly, I'm mean. I wouldn't even go. That's how I am sometimes. It's bad. Don't learn from me. But I would be like, or I would just gone, shown face, and like kept my distance, you know, to save the relationship. It's okay if the situation still bothers you. It's a significant emotional moment. It's not just like a birthday party. It's her wedding. But at the end of the day, you weren't wrong for prioritizing your feelings and setting boundaries when you felt hurt. You were a great friend throughout her journey, and it's only natural to expect that level of respect in return, and you didn't get it. Yeah. All right, you guys, that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of The Gray Between. If you have a story that you want to share or dilemma you'd like me to weigh in on, don't hesitate to reach out. Remember, life isn't always black and white. There's beauty in the gray. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep exploring the in-betweens. Bye.